welcome to my new video. This is Muriel from the Sunshine family, and in my today's video I will talk about Costa Rica dangers and the 12 most common mistakes a Costa Rica expat can make. Welcome in my life. I'm hiding for the rain. I'm standing here under the roof. Behind me my messy desk. Dirk is just passing by. My dogs are giving me presents like balls to play with. And just to show you why I'm standing here, it's rainy season, and when I stand like this I have very bad lighting, so I was just thinking about turning so you can see my face, but yeah, it's a rainy season, and I wanted to share. So basically, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, Joey's giving me presents and bones and balls and flip-flops to play with always when I start doing a video. So while the laundry is drying behind me, my dog is giving me, what is that? Come on. I have to pause the video, hold on. Okay, I moved to another location. First of all, before I'm gonna touch on common mistake number 1, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, this might be the right time to do so. You can do that by clicking the icon that you see here on the screen, or go to the description below and hit one of the links. And if you also hit the bell icon, you get a notification every time I upload a new video, and that might help you to learn more about Costa Rica expat life, and Costa Rica in general. So it's my intention to serve you with everything that I have learned so far since I moved here in 2018 with my family, including 2 growing up kids. So, common mistake number 1 is forgetting that the rain in rainy season is part of Costa Rica life. So it really depends as well which location exactly you live in Costa Rica. So for example, in the area Heredia, close to San Jose, it rains basically every day. The area where we live at the Peninsula de Nicoya in Punta Arenas, it rains basically in general from May to the end of November. And then in the beginning of December, high season, dry season starts. And basically, if you look behind me, I don't know how much rain you see falling, but it's really, really wet. And it's actually happening already for 2 weeks non-stop. Yes, we do have sunshine, but in general, it rains a couple of hours per day. And even that results in that my daughter cannot horseback ride because she has an exterior, come on, Joey. She has an exterior training area, and that's basically too wet. So really, before you move to Costa Rica or come to Costa Rica, pay attention that this is part of life. You have to organize your life around it, if you like it or not. Common mistake number 2, thinking that Costa Rica is cheap. Trust my word on this. I made that mistake, but thank goodness I could fill in the gap, the financial gap, because Dirk and I already have a successful business online. But Costa Rica is not like any other Latin American countries such as Belize, Panama, Nicaragua, and all other countries related and around, right? It is not cheap at all. It is actually, the prices are higher compared to where I come from in the Netherlands, in Europe. So don't make that mistake. And if you're counting on a specific budget that's based on cheaper Latin American countries, you get stuck financially. So please dive into your financial resources. I wrote a book, Costa Rica book, 7 steps to move to Costa Rica. By the way, you can order it by going to the video description below. You will see a link. If you click it, you can order my book. And in there I also describe more or less, how much you can, basically the options when you move to Costa Rica, what budget you should have put aside to secure your life for an X amount of months. So basically I gave you the tips that I followed, all the things that I done myself, but in general, because Costa Rica is not cheap, and also because we're talking about today, 2020, it is June 12th, 2020. We're still in lockdown, quarantine, COVID changes, also the economy of Costa Rica, And I hear people say out loud that Costa Rica is on the fence of economic collapse. It's not my words, it's what I hear whispering around me. I'm just saying, when you know now that Costa Rica is not cheap, and you are thinking about, offering your services, like you're a painter, you're a carpenter, you want to start an Airbnb, realize that changed so far until the day of today due to COVID. So you have a lot of competition with the locals now. You have a lot of competition offering your services with people who also offer the same services. So basically, I advise everyone to look into how you can generate a solid income online the way that Dirk and I do. And if you want to learn more and you're totally new at this, don't worry, this is just a seed that I planned to give you an idea, and also to share how I can work around the high prices in Costa Rica, and about if it's true why is this happening? Hold on. The economic collapse. I had an English blackout. How you can work your way around it. Go to the link. Learn how you too can build an income online. So that was mistake danger number 2. Common mistake number 3 is thinking that you can maintain the rhythm of life that you were used to live in countries in North America and Europe. Myself, I come from the Netherlands, and our culture is really, you can characterize it with I go quickly to the bank, and I go quickly do some shopping, and quickly, and in the meantime I pick up the kids, blah blah blah. It goes really, really in a tempo, right? Now, if you come with the expectation and move to Costa Rica as an expat, and you think also when you start living in a compound with like-minded people who come from the same area where you come from, still you cannot change the culture of and the tempo of Costa Rica. Things are really more laid back here. Things can take ages when you want to go to a bank, right? When you want to have things happening. Even when you want to pick up your kids from school, it can take you hours and hours if there is a landslide or a hole in the road, the infrastructure is not that well. So I'm just saying, realize that you really enter a different tempo, and you cannot change it no matter how badly you want it. It's a matter of adjusting. Common mistake number 4 for new expats, people who are entering Costa Rica, is number 4, thinking that living in Costa Rica is non-stop vacationing, laying in your hammock and doing nothing. Now, I'm not saying I'm not laying in my hammock and I don't do nothing, because I do. But life in Costa Rica, if you live in Costa Rica, no matter if you live in a big $1 million mansion or in a smaller cottage or a family house, or, I don't know where you live, it takes maintenance. This is just a practical example, right? If you live even in a small house, within 2 to 3 days, you have many insect friends making little houses in the corners of your ceiling and your walls. You will see families of cockroaches finding all your food leftovers. We have tons of mini ants who also love leftovers. I'm just saying, the weather is different. It's raining now, water can get into everything. If the things are not waterproof, you have to fix it. And if you don't want to fix it yourself, you have to arrange someone else doing it for you. But it all takes time and maintenance. So basically, life in Costa Rica is also living with the elements, living with the different type of weather, living with a different type of nature. Of course, we enjoy so much living with the animals around us in the jungle, but the jungle also has their characteristics, like animals, insects, also noises, right? But that has nothing to do with doing nothing, but there's always something to do here. For example, that's why I change position every time, so you also got to see a little bit more about my property and our family hub here on our mango farm. But there's always something to do. So the moment that Dirk realized that roof over our bus, that is our bedroom, there popped up something else to do, because the heavy rain made it really, really crucial for Dirk to start building this roof. right? There's not such a thing as like, let's wait until in half a year, because half a year it will be have rained half a year and then the whole bus would have been flooded. There's always something to do, trust me. Then it's like the internet crashes and you have to do phone calls to the ICE company. You will have to be on the line for time after time. And actually, if you take that for granted, life is fun and awesome in Costa Rica. You just have to count on that there is always stuff to do. And yes, there's plenty of time doing nothing and hang at the beach or hike or whatever that you love to do in Costa Rica. But I just want to prevent you be disappointed when something else happened to happen and that you don't feel happy in Costa Rica. So take that as a fact. Okay, this is a big one. This is common mistake number 5. And that is that a lot of people, before they move to Costa Rica to become an expat, they already start the hustle of applying for long-term residency. Basically, in a nutshell, if this doesn't mean anything to you, you have tourist visas and you have residency long-term visas, right? There are certain rules to be able to apply for long-term visa, right? It has to do with your income that you're bringing in. It has to do with if you bought property, how much you paid for it. But there are ways to go for long-term residency before you enter Costa Rica. And there's many people who apply for that. But the fact is this: a lot of people don't last for more than a year after moving here because they changed their mind. Hi, Joey. Because they changed their mind. They just don't last here because they can't settle in for certain reasons, right? Because they just cannot grind in their new country. Let's leave in the middle what happens. But I have seen in the almost 2 years that we live here in Costa Rica, many families come and go. That's not also always easy, but I have a mistake about that as well, so stay tuned. So yeah, I recommend you to don't apply for long-term residency before you're here for at least a year, to play it safe, because it's a long-term thing to go for as well. It can take up to a year to get your residency approved if you fit in all the rules and regulations of Costa Rica. So why do all the hustle if you're not 100% sure that life in Costa Rica is the life for you? And it's also, I just want to say, it's not a bad thing if you change your mind and leave Costa Rica, because then you had an extraordinary experience, right? And you can say, well, we're there for a couple of months or a year, and then enough was enough, and we went back or we went to another place. So I'm not judging anyone who is leaving. I'm just saying don't apply for long-term residency until you're absolutely sure that you're going to be here long-term, right? If it doesn't make sense, I hope that it makes sense to you. Okay, common mistake number 6. Let me just sit for this inactive position. And also to help myself phrase the words well, because this is not a judgmental thing for people who live within a year, but I recommend you, especially when you have kids, to just keep in the back of your mind, if it makes sense, to invest a lot of time in people who are here shorter than a year, because so many leave within a year. Now, I'm not saying it's bad or that those people are bad, but I'm just saying when you have growing up children and they make friends, so they just left their own home country, right? And they're about to making new friends, and those friends are leaving again, but not once, but again and again and again, because their parents decided to go back to where they come from or to travel ahead. It can be really, really hard for kids to see their children, their friends leaving again. And funny enough, I've always said I'm independent because I work online with Dirk, right? For already 4 years full time. We have independent online remote businesses. We can come and go wherever we want. We're digital nomads. And I always said, well, we go to Costa Rica and if we don't like it, we're gonna leave again. But I started to experience it from the other side. I also made friends. And now I have my first couple of real close friends who decided to leave again. And they will leave whenever they can get their flight back to the country that they want to moving further with their lives. So I'm just saying, it's up to you. I'm not saying you should not be friends with people who cannot guarantee you they're going to stay forever. I can never promise you I'm going to stay somewhere forever, and I never say never, and I never say ever. But I'm just saying it could be something to keep in the back of your mind. How much time are you going to invest in new people who are insecure about staying if you are looking for long-term friends? So I'll leave it up to you, but I think it's worth to mention as a common mistake. Number 6. So let me just go ahead with common mistakes number 7. It happens a lot with people who are brand new coming to Costa Rica, but that's trusting strangers in helping you. Now, don't take me wrong. I'm not saying that everyone is bad and everyone wants to take advantage of you. But what I've learned already when I was traveling back in 2003, 2004 with Dirk without the children, because we didn't have children yet, that it's always tricky, to recognize if someone is really sincerely helping you or if someone actually earning on you and taking advantage of you. We have experienced both. Here in Costa Rica, but also during our lives way before Costa Rica, years and years before Costa Rica. But I just don't want you to make this mistake coming to Costa Rica. And the reason that I mention this as a serious thing to prevent, so as a common mistake, because I get messages thanks to readers of my book, people who ask me questions about Costa Rica, because by the way, if you didn't know yet, I have a call service, a 55-minute call where you can ask me anything one-on-one about Costa Rica. You find information in the description below. Just click the link and read more about it. But I got questions from these calls and also from readers of my book and people who watch my videos that they have bad experiences and they want to learn from me what I did differently. I had a woman, single mom, absolutely awesome personality, who was taking advantage of, and she lost so much money in others helping her, and it sounded really like bad luck over bad luck. And it really got me thinking, I have to share this in my video, that when you really are so open and your heart is open and you're so trustable, you have to pay attention and realize that not everyone has a good heart, especially when there's a lack of finances. People like to take advantage of you and want to give you tips and earn a lot of bucks on you. And that's just a bad feeling. We had that ourselves. Actually, I won't go into details, but the first house that we rented was of someone who actually didn't tell us the truth about the rent that she was paying herself, making us think that the rent that we were paying her was the rent. Actually, it was hundreds and hundreds of dollars more per month, and she didn't even have how do you say that, permission to have renters. So we were basically doing something really illegal, and we didn't want to be in that position, but we all found that out later. We lost a couple of hundreds of bucks. It was just money, and it was not even that bad. But I'm just saying, if you think that people are helping you, often there's money behind it. But how can you see the difference between a sincere helping someone and someone who's doing it for money? That's hard to say. But just have your senses open. That's my best advice. Ask around how that person is familiar in town, like if other people know the person that's offering you help. And just, that is what my first friend who I met in Costa Rica, it was our landlord. We lived on his property for the first 8 months. Actually, we lived for 2 months in that crappy house, and then the next 8 months on his property. And he taught us this: don't trust anyone in Costa Rica. And that sounds weird because, of course, we started to trust him. He's one of our best friends here. Trust needs to start somewhere, but just pay attention. Have your senses open. Don't let anyone take advantage of you like this. I hope that helps. Okay, common mistake 8 a Costa Rica expat can make is, please pay attention to this one: buying property without a solid due diligence done by a trustable attorney. There are so many people still making the mistake, being blinded by great offers. And especially, I assure you, now in COVID time, there will be a big run on buying properties. There will be people being forced to sell a piece of property because their business is collapsing or whatsoever. But still, I know at least 3 people who bought property without due diligence, a solid due diligence, meaning they bought property that was belonging to someone else. Basically, they paid money for something that wasn't theirs to buy. And that sounds spooky and scary, but I tell you, it's what's happening, and you can simply prevent that by doing due diligence about, so my dogs obviously see something there. Find a trustable attorney, and in my books, book 7 Steps to Costa Rica, I share my personal attorney with you as a thank you for buying my book. So, you know, if you want to get information like that, just go ahead to the description below and get my book 7 Steps to Costa Rica. There's more tips about buying property mentioned in there, some tips. And of course in a call I can tell you everything that I've done, how we bought our property, etc, etc. So you can ask it in the form of asking me questions in the 55-minute Costa Rica consultation call. But yeah, that's key. If you buy property, it can be, let it be your success story and not your traumatic losing everything story, because it's a lot of pain. It involves a lot of pain when this happens. There's obviously a lot of people taking advantage of others. It happens everywhere in the world, but it of course also happens in Costa Rica. Okay, common mistake number 9 for an expat who comes to Costa Rica is that you miscalculate how long it will take you getting yourself from A to B. Basically, don't pay attention, not really knowing how to get around under the influence of the weather and in many cases bad infrastructure. So, for example, where we live is at the peninsula de Nicoya. It's one of the 5 blue zones in the world, and it sounds very fancy, but in general we have the worst roads of whole Costa Rica, and it has its charm to live here, right? There's less people, there's just less tourists, but the infrastructure is really, really bad. Now, if we need to go to San Jose, for example, Dirk's laptop crashed last week, 2 weeks ago, and he needs to go to San Jose to buy a new laptop because you cannot buy it here in town. It took him minimum a day to get there and to get back. Now, he also missed the ferry. That meant that he had to stay over in a little hotel in Punta Arenas to get the first ferry back home. And then he had to ride 1.5 hours after sitting 1.5 hours on the ferry to get home. I'm just saying, the Costa Rica map, world map, looks quite small, but getting from A to B can take you days and days and days and days, and you're not even sure if you're getting there when you travel in rainy season. For example, if you think, yeah, but I'm smart, you know, I'm gonna book like a domestic flight to get from the peninsula to San Jose, because that's, you can find information about that. I wrote about it in my book, so you can learn more about my advised domestic flight companies that I use myself. But what people forget is in rainy season, they're unpredictable, and they probably don't even fly, no matter if you have a ticket or not. They can fly in heavy rain. So you know, don't make the common mistake to think that you can go quickly from A to B, because in general, it's harder than you think. I hope that makes sense. Okay, this is a very underestimated danger that most people really don't want to talk about, but it's the danger of skin cancer. Don't make this common mistake as an expat, thinking that you do not have to fear skin cancer because, you know, there's many people living here anyways, and you know, it's just part of life. Skin cancer does not have to be part of life. You have to be aware that a lot of locals here, Ticos, who are working outdoors, like in construction or as gardeners or whatsoever, they are protected. You see people who whacking the weed, you know, gardeners, you see them wearing long sleeves and neck protectors on connected to their caps, their heads, and basically are covered with clothing, protective clothing from top to toe, right? And why is this? Because skin cancer numbers in Costa Rica are quite high, and you should know that that it's a big underestimated problem, especially when you are from North American countries or European countries such as ourselves. We are not used to the strength of the sun. Even on days like this, even when you're sitting in the shade, the sun can still hurt your skin. Even when you're behind glasses, like in the bus, right? That's why we made curtains. Without the curtains and the sun goes directly through the glass, it can hurt your skin. And so you have to know this. I want to be the person who warned you for this, and you should know in general that every human skin has like an X amount of time, or X amount of exposure that it can digest, and after that it's gonna be creating the chance on cancer. So every time your skin burns, literally like burns with blasters, red, your skin is replacing itself, etc. It's a huge bite out of that X amount of time that your skin has to recover healthy. Basically means in a later stage of life, that means when your kids burn a lot, when you do not protect your kids with sunscreen or clothing, so when you're just ignoring not going to the ocean and on the beach outside of the very strong sun hours. I always recommend you to do it in the early morning and in the afternoon, and then still put protective stuff on your skin. It can cause skin problems when they're adults, right? Because the skin can just handle an X amount of dangerous radiation. So I just want you to know that it's a big underestimated mistake most expats make. Okay, let me just walk back to the house to share a common mistake number 11 that a lot of people make, especially new expats, is that they don't pay attention to death by the ocean. I just cannot stress it enough that the ocean is super cool here. It has the best oceans in the world for surfers, but it also has a number of deaths caused by rip currents, rip tides, and it just sucks when you don't know it, when you're underestimated, when you're coming to Costa Rica, you make the choice to create a new life in Costa Rica, and you just have to deal with something traumatic like that. So I wanted to be the person who's warning you for that. Pay attention to the ocean, have respect for the ocean. Surfing on its own is of course fantastic, but it's not without danger. And also, especially in those surf oceans, when you think, wow, it's so cool, I'm gonna take a dive, be careful for other surfers, because also their boards, when they hit you, when you start swimming in crowded oceans, it's super dangerous on its own. So pay attention, and it has a reason. It's a surf ocean in some areas where the ocean is not flat, and that means that without a board you're actually not really safe. It is the board that makes it like a way to sport, but without board it can be very dangerous. I experienced myself being in a rip current while my youngest was swimming a little bit closer to the beach, and I just urged him to swim back, and I stayed calm and I knew what to do, and then I got out of the rip current. But it was a very scary feeling, being pulled into the ocean away from the beach. So yeah, don't drown please, and make Costa Rica a fun experience. Promise? Okay, the last common mistake I will mention today in my video is, this is about building a house. Not about specifically buying property, but common mistake is to start building a house without having the knowledge or awareness that materials are super different here in Costa Rica. So if you have created a design, for example, I know people who came to Costa Rica, designed their own house, or had like an architect designing a house to build in another country, such as Costa Rica, that the construction of the house can cause problems when in the design you do not pay attention to the different type of materials, the different way of building, also working with nature, with rain. You know, everything is different here. And also the time to take to build a house can be totally different, because sometimes stuff needs to be brought in from San Jose, for example, to where we live, and then, for example, they made a mistake in the delivery, they have to send it back. Oh, they missed the ferry, now it takes so everything can be fully different. So I've heard people who were so disappointed. They were ready, they bought their property, it was all done well, now they're ready for building. They had their water in place, they had their electricity in place, and now the building team could not really finalize their dream house because it was not created with materials from here, or it gave them a hard time to import the materials they needed, like sliding doors. European sliding doors are way better in quality than the Costa Rica ones. But before they arrive here, you know, no one can tell you exactly how long it takes. So pay attention to that when you want to build your dream house as an expat in Costa Rica. I hope that makes sense. So I wanted to thank you for watching my video again. If you have any questions, post them in the comments below. If you like my video, give me your thumbs up, your like. Of course, share my video to someone who can benefit from it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in my next video. And of course, if you want to talk with me one-on-one about Costa Rica, answering your one-on-one questions, you can book a call with me. It's 45 minutes. This in the description below you find more info. And of course, get my book if you seriously want to move to Costa Rica and want to know how I done it in 7 steps. And of course, the biggest takeaway of today is that Costa Rica is awesome, and I'm looking forward to seeing more new people coming in a weird upside down world. I believe Costa Rica is a wonderful place to live and be an expat with all its beauty around, with all the animals. I think it's worth it, and I'm looking forward to meeting you there one day really, really soon. Bye!